What's up, y'all? Today is the 5th of November, 2025. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. This video is on our main side. One of the 4 sides of In The Image Clothing Company is this, our main side, where we allow the body to work. That's what we do. The human body has a center line. Earth has a center of gravity. We place clothing on our bodies, and our clothing has to stay centered, but we talk about everything we do in our lives, including what I'm going to discuss in this video. Okay, the natural bite size is the title of this video, and it's one of the things we talk about: eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, hydration, anything else, everything else, all the things we do as a human being. We allow the body to work. So I'll get into it, the natural bite size and how that's not only going to affect your digestive system, but really what we focus mostly on is the mechanics of the human body. Okay, allowing the body to work physically. Yeah, that does include eating, but eating is not just the food down in our digestive system, but it's getting it there. So the jaw, okay, that's a big thing. Because the human body has a center line, we talk about it often and how to have it stay there and remain in a modern man-made world placed onto God's natural earth. Okay, and we're placed into clothing designs that most all of us don't design. Our clothing has to stay centered, fit correct, where we discuss when we talk about where clothing sits for everybody because of the universal human design, and be made from 100% natural materials because the human body's natural, neutral, and normal are synonyms within the body's functioning, and the goal on all 4 sides of In The Image Clothing Company is natural. Okay. The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw are all in the center of the body. The jaw stabilizes the entire body. With the musculature from the lower jawbone here, it travels up between the eyes and the ears to the crown of our head, and it affects our feet arches, it affects our hands, it affects our entire body, and vice versa. Our feet altered can affect our jaw, our hands altered can affect our jaw. From the tip of the head, the tips of the fingers, and the tips of the toes from all extremities, the human body can only ever work activated as a whole. So the jaw stabilizes the entire body, okay? We talk about keeping it centered. Over the body's center line, okay? Musculature connects from the outside of the shoulder to the sternum in the center of the front of the body on both sides. It connects from the outside of the shoulder to the spine in the center, in the rear of the body on both sides. And we have a neutral to everything. Rotations, from the neutral we have internal, and then from the neutral we have external rotation. In the hands to the elbows, and then the hand to the shoulder with the entire arm, and the foot to the knee, and those lower legs, and then from the foot to the hip and the entire leg. Okay, but there's always a neutral in every joint and every position the body has. We need to reside in our neutral positions. Okay, the jaw is no different, and the jaw is something that needs a lot of emphasis put on it. Okay, keeping collar centered. As you can see here, there's a lot of musculature and tendons going through the neck of our bodies that goes through the collar of our tops. In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification is one of our free modifications we give. That's a lot of what we do, is just give free information on how to allow your body to work without ever having to purchase anything. And then In The Image Clothing Company clothing will always be great. Okay, doing at least these 3 things: staying centered, fitting correct, and being made from, in all the ways we can, 100% natural materials. Okay, but stretch in clothing, okay, it goes the opposite direction of the only way that muscles could ever work. All musculature in the body only shortens to work. There's opposing muscles to a function. So one shortens while the other side relaxes, and then the other side shortens while the first side relaxes. So stretching the body is damaging, because if we stretch outside of the neutral position in either direction, we've gone too far from the other direction. Okay, and we're just opposing how muscles work if we're pulling on them when they all contract. Okay, keeping us vertical with those feet arches gripping inward at our foundation, opposing the center line, and then now we're above Earth's gravity like we need to be, with our jaw stabilizing in the center of our body. So we talk about eating often here on the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, and wherever we do on any of the 4 sides on In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. where we specialize in purebred standard poodles and we let dogs stay natural, giving information that applies to all dogs. We talk about feeding for dogs as well. And a lot of what I say in this just, translate just about directly. It does and will translate just about directly over to dogs as well, okay? Because, like I said, the video's title is the natural bite size. Let's think about this. What are we really doing when we're eating food? Well, it's kind of the same thing as the video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company titled, How Clothing Affects Speaking. And talk about how speaking is just a mechanical thing. It's just our jawbone, this lower jawbone here, that starts right at the top of our ears and comes down, basically where my beard is. And then it's our chin, right? And it moves like this, hinging right here at the top of the ears. Okay, and it actually hinges back. If it's windy, in this it's windy, okay? Blunt, bold, raw, and real in the Image Clothing Company. It's as if I'm just here with you delivering information. Okay, that's how we approach what we do forever, right? I mean, this for life, this is how it is. We're just real. So, the jaw has to hinge, and it has to be able to. And so just like speaking, how all it is a physical motion of the jaw to form the sounds that we hear as words, well, that's what eating is. It's just our jaw moving to chew the food. And we know this. If we do, it seems pretty obvious to some people. But what a lot of people don't know, what I never knew until I did, okay, till I was around 24 years old, give or take, a lot of the stuff that I talk about as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, I didn't know it all until I was right around 24 years old. And I really started to understand the anatomy of the human body, which is what we discuss in depth here under In the Image Clothing Company, right? A lot of what we do is get out of these chronic patternings and scar tissue that get built up in the body through imbalances, oversized clothing, imbalances and discrepancies in clothing design, ropes introduced to the body, shoelaces and drawstrings tied one side over the other, just rotating the entire body. Living in this right-handed world where we get farther externally rotated, dropped lower and away from our body's center line on the right side of our body. Even for those left-handed people out there, we live in a right-handed world. 85%, give or take, of human beings are left-handed. No, right-handed is the case, and that's the type of world we live in. But I never focused so much on what was happening with the jaw when I was eating, and I didn't know that there was a neutral position to everything in the body. And there is. And that's how we allow the body to work, like I say, and like I've said within this video, is we allow it to reside in its neutral positions, okay? And then there's just motion all outside of that. The jaw is the same way. And we talk about the jaw a lot, okay? The importance of the corners of the mouth, the mechanics of the human jaw, the jaw and the sternocleidomastoid, okay, which I'll talk about those two things correlation in this video. But these are videos under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, and we just talk about a lot of things with the jaw. When I mention, under the video, oversized clothing makes life hard, under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, that's its title, with all capital letters of the word hard. The same skin on all of our body is the same skin on all of our body. And if we have oversized tops that pull down on our shoulders, well, look at this, right? That's the whole thing about the video titled Keeping Collars Centered under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, is our jaw directly connects out to the edges of our shoulders, okay? The neutral shoulder position plays into the jaw, okay? So the natural scapula position, the space between the shoulder blades, these are videos under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. Our shoulders directly correlate with our jaws functioning, okay? But eating is something we talk about so often. And a big thing is keeping that jaw centered left to right, okay? So, eating and drinking with the left hand, meaning just non-dominant. But that is a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, and something we discuss often because not only are we just working these muscles that travel basically almost the whole distance of the side of the head, top to bottom on each side, but our teeth will wear down over time, just grinding food down between them with friction, and that's fine. That's what they're for. But if we're always eating imbalanced in this right-handed world and always leaning off to the right while we eat, always within clothing that's imbalanced and twisting our bodies into a right-handed patterning while we eat, right? What it really means to lean left is a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, because it's hard for us in this right-handed patterning to lean left. I mean, there's a lot of rotations, activation versus relaxing of muscles on different sides of the body, left to right, and a lot of things that really go into being able to lean left when we're kind of stuck in a right-handed patterning, okay? It's an entirely different position in the entire body just to lean left, or look left, or turn our head left, or turn our bodies right, which is the same thing mechanically, okay? So, eating and drinking with the left hand will then allow our jaw to stay under our center of gravity and over our body's center line as it wears down the teeth when we eat food with our left hand, because it'll change the position of the entire body just to get the left hand up to the mouth, okay? So we talk about a lot of these things. There's a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company titled "Looking Down Opposes Bad Posture." I was in this location right here when I filmed that video. Shout out to the helicopter noise. And yeah, you know, there's a neutral position to the body in everything, always, only, and ever. Now, here's a couple things that we can point out around the jaw. The lower jaw bone is just a bone. It comes, like I was showing, from around the top of the ears here, down in front of the ears, and then around here is the rear of the lower jaw bone, and then it comes forward to the chin, okay? And the jaw has to clear this muscle called the sternocleidomastoid, which we actually put a lot of importance on and talk about a lot under In The Image Clothing Company, and it's a small muscle. But it's this muscle that comes down from right here at the rear of the ears. Right behind them on the skull is the insertion for the top end. We have a video titled "The Importance of Even Sternocleidomastoid Insertions" under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. These insertions then come down with the muscle, barely clearing the rear of the lower jaw bone, and then they come and connect to our sternum in the center here, between our ribs in the front, and then our collarbones or our clavicles that come and connect to the sternum here. The muscle comes down, sternocleidomastoid, splits off, inserts to the sternum, and inserts to the collarbone right here beneath our trachea. Okay, there's a center line to the body. This is In The Image Clothing Company and what we do. We are not about fashion. For those of you who don't know much about what we do yet, right? If you're new to finding us or finding out who we are, it's about allowing the body to work. Clothing is the only thing physically placed on us, though, and so a lot of what we do in our lives is directly and entirely determined by how our clothing sits on us. Just functioning in motion in our lives that we are able to or unable to, because of the clothing, just do naturally, okay? So, this lower jaw bone and the rear of it here, it needs to be able to tuck back, like I said, you know, the video we have under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. Looking down opposes bad posture, okay? What people call bad posture, which there's only a neutral to the body. There's only one way it could ever work, just being a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space, okay? And we need to tuck the jaw down, and this rear jawbone here, the lower jawbone, but the rear part of it, it needs to be able to clear this sternocleidomastoid muscle as it comes down, okay? By tucking back. And what happens is the wider we open our jaw, really just meaning the bigger, right, top to bottom, that we open our jaw, since our jaw pivots right here at the front top part of our ears, right around in here, our jaw actually hinges backward when it opens. So if you open your jaw as big as you can, the rear of your lower jawbone will just come back and hit into this sternocleidomastoid muscle. Okay, watch this. You can actually see my jawbone move back. as I open my jaw. And so what I'm saying in this video, the natural bite size, is a lot of what a lot of people hear a lot of the time. Check that out, right? Take smaller bites, chew your food thoroughly, eat slower so you don't have digestive problems and so you don't feel so fatigued and tired after you eat. Why eating wears you out is a video I made under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. And people talk about this because people understand it to a degree. But here's a discussion that I'm giving on a mechanical understanding of what's going on, in addition to what we talk about with just only introducing the amount of food to the body that it can actually receive at a time and actually utilize and extract the nutrients from. I made a video yesterday here under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company titled The Human Body's Natural Efficiency, and a lot of it was discussing eating and the amount to eat and the amount of speed or time it takes the body to utilize the food we eat. And we have to go slow enough, if you will, with introducing food or liquid hydration to the body for it to actually utilize it properly. Or else it'll just pass through the body. The body has to use energy and effort to do that, to pass it through it, and it doesn't actually get the opportunity to extract all that it can from it before we just, bowel movement out what we've eaten, okay? So there's a lot that goes into this, but specifically mechanically for the size of natural bites, the amount of food we naturally put into our mouth, we can't try to put more food in our mouth than will fit within the bed of our teeth. We can't have food between the outside of our teeth and our cheeks, okay? Look what it does there when I puff my cheeks out by pushing air between the outside of my teeth and the inside of the wall of my cheek. Look at all the musculature that changes, the position of my nose changes. And then we have to remember all the musculature that comes down clear to the shoulders. See this? Right? We have to keep the body centered because Earth has a center of gravity. Because, without being redundant, this is important to see, the musculature connects from the outside of the body into the center, okay? If we put things between the outside of our teeth and the inside of our cheeks, which should just nicely sit against the outside of our teeth, right? When we open and close our mouth to speak, ideally we're doing it pretty much just straight up and down. Okay? Same thing when we're eating. Same thing when we're chewing food. Same thing when we're putting bites of food into our mouth. We don't want to be looking off to the side like this and look at this discrepancy or imbalance left to right all the way out to my shoulder, which travels out to my hand and down to my foot arch if I have my head off-centered when I open my mouth to put food in it. Okay, the musculature from the lower jawbone here up to the crown of the head, now your whole head being stabilized on top of your body is having its musculature being worked imbalanced if we're not opening our mouth centered over our body's center line, over Earth's center of gravity when we put bites of food or drinking as well, right, into our mouth. So, we need to be very intentional about staying centered in all of our lives, always, because we have no say over how our bodies mechanically work. That's why we can only allow them to work, allowing the body to work, right, in the Image Clothing Company's main side's slogan. The only way you can allow something to do something is if you didn't design it. And we didn't design it, we can't decide it, right? That's an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast's title, where we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. We're all human beings placed on the same earth. We all have one God. We discuss him as he says that he is, although we don't do it perfect, okay? Because we're always imperfect in this life, serving a perfect God. And we're designed in the image of Jesus Christ, okay? In the Image Clothing Company. That's how there is this universal design. That's how we can understand the anatomy of the human body and address it and allow it to work. So we're on episode 177 of In The Image Clothing Company podcast as of last night, if you'd like to check it out. it's a great place to just give, where I give and to just get, if you'd like, good insights on life. Okay, deep insights on life, really, just as it is. There's only truth, right? Everything was here before us, and so it's just what it is. Hard to accept sometimes, and for some people, but we really discuss the gospel of Jesus Christ through all that we do. I mean, that's where our company name comes from. In the image of God is how we're designed. We're a clothing company to allow the body of human beings and dogs to work, okay, through clothing and dog products, collars, leashes, harnesses, right? Staying centered, fitting correct, allowing the dogs to just be dogs, letting dogs stay natural, okay? But yeah, eating is a huge thing. And so when we're chewing or doing anything, even speaking, like I'm saying, our jaw is just moving up and down. It's just a bone that's hinging, and musculature is causing it to do that. So we need our jaw to actually be nice and snug and closed. Musculature in the body only contracts. So these muscles on the side of the head here, the jaw muscles from the lower jaw bone up to the crown of the head, they need to get shorter. Closing the jaw by lifting it, because that's the only way those muscles could do anything besides just relaxing. Or really being pulled on. Oversized clothing makes life hard. It's pulling your jaw open. If your top is pulling your shoulders down. Okay? So, clothing truly is the only fix to human beings' physical problems. No opinion. Okay? It's nothing to do with us having a clothing company. We'd say the same thing with this level of understanding if we never had clothing to sell, or if we just didn't deal with clothing through giving free modifications and all that we do like that. It's just the case. It's the only thing physically placed on us. The body's designed to work. What's not allowing it to? If it's not being allowed to. Clothing, truly. We discussed the positioning in our lives as well, but clothing, the only fix. Truly. No opinion. Okay? But we have to keep food in the bed of our teeth. Just meaning where your teeth sit, if you can close your mouth and keep your food inside your teeth rather than between your teeth and your cheeks, then that's the amount of food that you can fit in your mouth at one time. We can't be speaking while we eat. Mechanically, you can't. Because your head will just tilt off to the side to accommodate for the stretching of your cheek skin around the outside of your teeth. And if you want a slim-looking face, well, you have the face that you have. But if you're eating food and putting it in your cheeks while you eat, you're stretching out your cheek skin, okay? So you'll never have as slim of cheeks as you personally could if you're just stretching the skin out by chewing and eating food, speaking while you're eating, and putting the food in the sides of your cheeks because you can't speak when it's only a physical, mechanical thing using your tongue in the center of your teeth bed if there's food in the way. And so if you're eating, you'd have to get your food out of the way, alter your entire body by having your food between the outside of your teeth and the inside of your cheek. And then speaking, you're training all these muscles now imbalanced because there's food pushing your cheek off to the side, right where your jaw muscles are, being now used discrepant or different left to right. Okay? So, there's only a center line to the human being. Always, only, and ever. These are things that I couldn't ever have an opinion on that mattered. Opinions don't matter. There's only truth. That's, again, kind of hard to hear, but that's the case. Okay? Because the body just can only ever work one way. So, we need small enough bites to where we're not trying to open our jaw excessively big to get food in. I had this idea of, well, what's a natural thing that's a pretty natural bite size? Grapes, the fruit. One grape at a time, you can fit between your teeth bed. Even a banana. When you take a bite of a banana, the size of the banana, if you take a proper size bite, it can sit within the bed of your teeth. Oranges, they come naturally sliced, right? You peel an orange and it has slices in there already, And that size is a size that if you take a bite of a slice of an orange, it'll just fit within the bed of your teeth. And these are natural things that have always been like this, well, basically, right? I mean, if fruit changes over time, and we've changed fruit as human beings, modifying it genetically in ways, truly, I mean, to quite a great degree that's really shocking if you don't understand how it was even hundreds of years ago. Yeah, right? Selecting certain fruits to make fruit be what we want it to be as we grow new fruit. But, yeah. But correlating, these natural things and the size that they are that can fit into our mouth with something like in the United States of America here, right? We're based in the state of Utah, the United States of America, in the Image Clothing Company, and we will always be. This is where we're always going to be rooted, okay? Where our building will actually be. This is our actual foundational place. But in the United States of America and across the earth, but especially here, because it's a very American thing in a lot of ways to have things big. And often we have things like hamburgers, cheeseburgers, and similar things like this, even sandwiches that are just so big, you pretty much can't even take a bite of it in any way unless you actually cut it up with utensils or just pull pieces off with your fingers. But eating it as the form of the hamburger, cheeseburger, sandwich that's so large, you have to open your jaw way wider than it would ever naturally open, just to get your mouth around something that we've made that's just way bigger than our mouths would ever naturally open. You're just pulling on your jaw's musculature. You're just swinging, or hinging, I guess we should say, more than swinging, your lower jawbone backward, and now you have to get space between this sternocleidomastoid muscle and the rear of your lower jawbone to open your mouth that big. And the only way you can do that is if your head comes forward, which is just your spine, the cervical spine or the spine of the neck, just altering its position. And we talk about forward head posture often when people have just incorrect body mechanics. Again, there's only a neutral, always, only, and ever. No way to possibly train the human being. It's a mechanical machine designed by God. We can only just allow it to remain in its working position. Fingers tracking in line, feet arches gripped, entire body activated as a whole. Everything's there with a role to play. You can't drag around dead weight. No compensation can happen because my hand can't make up for the role of my knee. They're different things. Everything has to work the only way that it can. Otherwise, it's not working very well. And amputations, deformities, birth defects, major surgeries, we've got our own situations, but getting as close as we can in all of our own individual cases to this universal human design we learn about in the anatomy class, that we see the bones, ligaments, tendons, and muscles of the body and understand how they operate. That's what I'm showing here with the natural bite size. We're getting to that as close as we can in every situation if we're going to be allowing our bodies to operate the best that they can in all of our own situations. This is amazing. I love this video. I love being able to do this. I'm in this for life. Evan Strong, as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. This is what I'm doing, right? For human beings and dogs. And this is really what we do. And as I've said, you're able to see my body's legitimate, without a claim being made, physical transformation, visual transformation from a little over a year ago, founding In The Image Clothing Company, until any current date that you can be the most current, seeing my body and just how it mechanically operates because of the truth of what we discuss under In The Image Clothing Company when we talk about the anatomy of the human body, okay? Because forward head posture, it's going to come from our head having to move forward to open our lower jawbone large enough to get around something that's just much larger than the natural bite size, okay? Watch this. You open your jaw as far as you can. Well, you can go farther if you alter the rest of your entire body, which this will travel down to your feet arches. By pushing your head forward and changing the position of your cervical spine or your neck, the musculature's elongation versus contraction will change. The rotations of your body will change through your shoulders and out down to your feet. And You're just pulling on the skin of your face. You're overextending your jaw. You're changing the way that your teeth will mesh because, again, friction. They're just grinding food together, so they'll mesh differently. If they're not meshing naturally, they'll be meshing unnaturally forward like this. Because just to open your jaw that wide, you have to move your jaw out of the way of just what it would hit. And there's a muscle there, the sternocleidomastoid muscle. And there's a lot of little muscles underneath the jaw down here. And also just the ears. You know, the ears are just that hole between the rear of the jaw and then the skull back there where those sternocleidomastoid insertions are. You can't take a bigger bite than you can take. And this, again, it's doctrinal, it's scriptural, it's in the Holy Bible, it's the Word of God, it's the truth of all things, the gospel of Jesus Christ. You know, men shall not run faster than they have strength, or jump higher than they can, or what, you know, all the ways that it's worded in whatever exact scripture that is. But just meaning, we often try to do things as human beings that we cannot do, things that are too big for us, things that are too hard for us, and we don't rely on God. And some of us don't know in times maybe that we need to rely on God or how to. And that's the whole point of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, by the way, is discussing God as he says that he is, because he's not only there, but he's here and now. He's eternal and always. So the thing is, God designed the body, and we can't like design food, if you will, that's so large that we can't even fit it into our mouths. It'll cause your shoulders to come forward, your head to come forward, your body to externally rotate and damage your whole body, deactivate your core, change your feet and your pelvis positioning, going more anterior or forward. Your entire body gets altered if we try to open our jaw too wide to take too big of bites when there's only the natural bite size. Okay. So there you go. I think that's all I will say in this video. For this video, we'll talk about this. I'm in this for life, right? Again, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, but we have to take small enough bites to where we're not altering our bodies mechanically. And then that helps our digestive system. It helps our endocrine system. It helps the whole body. And also, we need to finish chewing and swallowing everything we put into our mouth before we put something else into our mouth. Something I also just did not do until I was around 24 years old, a couple years ago, right? When I started to really dive into what I do and what I'm here to do for life, truly, right? One thing at a time. That's all we can do as human beings. There's really, truly, honestly, no such thing as multitasking, regardless of how capable or smart you are. I'm a very capable and smart, and in many times prideful human being. I understand, but no, it's actually not able to happen. Doing multiple things at a time, and eating is one of those things. You know, we have to eat the amount of food that we've placed into our mouth before we put more food into our mouth. So we chew food very thoroughly. Saliva is the first form of digestion for the body. It breaks down carbohydrates and fats, which are ironically the two things that people stay away from so often. But if you're eating too fast and your saliva is not able to start breaking down your food before you even get it into your digestive system down here in your abdomen, then whatever studies they could do to say that carbohydrates or fats are damaging to the body and you need to stay away from them or limit them or whatever it is with diet plans. Nah, there's just food on the earth. The goal is natural on all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. If we know that we just need to eat things that are only natural, which is all there ever was until mankind started to modify things, right, genetically, and all the ways that we have unnatural foods nowadays that couldn't even benefit the body, only damage the body, is all unnatural can ever do. Taken with a grain of salt, right? But yes, right? Times and places, I get it. But, you know, yeah, we also need to know how to eat naturally, mechanically. And you have to allow your saliva to fully mix with all the food you put into your body before you swallow it. You have to chew your food basically as small as you can, for your body to fully utilize and extract all the nutrients from the food it can. There's only one way the human body could ever work. We have no say, but what we can do is develop and gain the understanding of how to allow the body to work. In the Image Clothing Company's main side's slogan. Okay, oh my goodness. There was a fly and I almost clapped him with my hands. I wasn't meaning to, I just clapped. And he hit the palm of my hand as I did. So, there you go. Okay, some good things. We talk about a lot of things. And we talk about a lot of things, right? We do a lot here under 4 distinct different sides of In the Image Clothing Company, but all encapsulated with what we are as a whole. Okay. The last fourth that I haven't mentioned anything about yet necessarily in this video is In the Image Clothing Company music. A lot of what gets shown is the sizing and setup of guitar to not alter that neutral wrist, which is straight out from the pinky finger, out the outside of the forearm, right? And the rounding in our hands. I call them hand arches, correlating with the rounding in our feet. And they'll never be there if our feet arches are collapsed, right? So we talk about shoes and feet in all aspects of what we do under In the Image Clothing Company. But you have to address the feet before your hands could ever work naturally at all. If your feet are being altered is the point. Okay. Shoot. But music gets made on In the Image Clothing Company music, rhythm and poetry, singing, guitar, all geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ. Metronome Madness. We're on episode 36 of Metronome Madness, where I go off the top or just, freestyle, spoken word poetry, lyricism, fun stuff. Deep insights, man. Just get thrown in where they do, where I do as the founder. We're going to have an amazing team, by the way. As the team grows, In the Image Clothing Company's team will always be awesome people, okay? It's going to be great. It's already great. In the Image Clothing Company has been and always will be huge because of what we do. We discuss things that are just apart from all of us, meaning eternal truths. We don't ever say everything exactly correct. We can even go so far as to say we don't ever say anything exactly correct. Even when we do, it's like, we're human beings. We're imperfect. But we just discuss things that are unchanging, okay? There's always going to only be the natural bite size for the human body, okay? But then just getting our bodies into a position where we know what it means to have a natural opening of our jaw is something that will only come through clothing, unless we never had worn clothing and our bodies never got altered. But then again, we just live in a modern man-made world that just puts our bodies into positions that alter them greatly. But what we show under In the Image Clothing Company, from the feet up, from the hands in, to the jaw, we have to be intentional about the entire body, keeping the body centered, keeping clothing placed on it correct, and then just going through our lives, just keeping our bodies in their neutral positions, holding dog leashes, right? In the Image Clothing Company poodles, in ways where we don't alter our bodies. That's a lot of what we discuss, is interacting with our dogs as the owner, so we don't get altered by being an owner of a dog, okay? And then a lot of the same things we discuss for dogs as well. So poodle parade events. One of the events we do, as In the Image Clothing Company, on one of our 4ths, In the Image Clothing Company poodles, here in the state of Utah, the United States of America, we'll have a lot of poodle parade events as time progresses. Come bring your poodles, purebred of any size or mixed poodles of any size. And a lot in nature, okay? A lot at parks, mountains, beautiful places you'll see. It'll be great. InTheImageClothingCompany.com is where everything comes to website-wise. Our 5-word company name, okay? That's actually the title of last night's episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, episode 177. Everything comes down to that 5-word company name. So you'll find scheduling for events, you'll find products, you'll find all that we do in all the ways just under that 5-word name, okay? So thank you. That's where I'll leave this. Just remember, your whole body will thank you. And not only is it just going to thank you, but there's actually only one way it could ever work anyway, and that's just taking bites of food or even sips of drinks that are the natural bite size, right? Same thing with drinking anything. Don't put it between your teeth and your cheeks. You're altering your whole body. And you don't know if you don't know. We can't be held accountable for what we don't know. And I didn't know any of this, like I said, until just a couple years ago as of today's date, right? So that's why we're here, to give information, to give truth, to legitimately, not just in some aspect or some sense, but in all the ways, change lives of both human beings and dogs, and point people to God, because that's the only way out of anything that's a problem or any help you ever need. God is the only one that can actually provide the real help we need, and he can just do it through people, right, or through things, but it's God. So one of those things he created is Utah, man, this beautiful state. And we do a lot for and through Utah, for the environment, and we live up Utah, as I say. That's become the phrase, and it's what we do. I love it here. We'll always be here. We'll take advantage in a good way, right, of this beautiful state of Utah, always. Okay, I'll be down in southern Utah for 2 weeks starting tomorrow. Okay, so I've been told. as long as yes, then yes. Okay, I'll do things down there as I do for In the Image Clothing Company videos, and you know, all that I get into. But it's beautiful here, man. So there you go. Okay, the natural bite size. Yeah, because the importance of the corners of the mouth. That's a video, you know, that I referenced earlier under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company. We need to be able to close our mouth. And a lot of reasons why people have such dry mouths or dry throats is because they can't close, whether it's from oversized tops pulling down on their shoulders that pulls down on their jaw, okay, or if it's from just an imbalanced jaw that can be coming from incorrect shoe tying all the way up to your jaw, or anything in between, the feet and the head, the hands and the head, right, wherever it is in the body. Or, yeah, you know, like drawstrings and just oversized things, imbalanced things, not being able to close your jaw all the way. But that's the same thing as just taking too large of bites and not being able to close your jaw all the way, because you train your body into an imbalance. The only way you can ever possibly train the human being is into an imbalance or into an incorrect workings, because there's only a neutral otherwise, which is impossible to train to, because it's just between all the other things you could try to get to motion-wise outside of the neutral, right? There's only a neutral. There's only one way the human body could ever work, and there's no possible way I could overuse that phrase. Okay? And I say it a lot. I have, at least, up until now. So there you go. Okay? We have to be able to close our mouth, and we have to be able to keep that tongue having a natural light suction to the roof of the mouth, just sitting right behind the upper teeth. It doesn't quite touch the teeth in a natural, neutral, normal synonym for the human body's workings, right, positioning. The human body's tongue, it just naturally sits right behind those upper teeth. And, you know, it just has a normal position there. But again, that comes from our feet. If our feet arches are being collapsed by incorrect shoelacing, then our tongue will just thrust forward, because our head will just come forward, and our tongue is just a muscle that's connected into our head and neck. And our feet are just supporting our entire body. And if they're not allowed to have their natural shape, the only way the human feet are shaped, right? Well, there's a video titled, "There is Only One Way the Human Feet Are Shaped," under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company. And I just showed, well, In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. No opinion of ours, but it's just what we titled, "The Only Way the Human Feet Are Shaped." We're just weaving ropes across the top of them. And we tie shoes evenly, right? Over toward the center line on both feet. Again, something I didn't do until I was 24 years old. I was tying shoes unevenly, and my jaw was sitting uneven. And so then I never knew anything about what it meant to have a normal bite size or not, a natural bite size or not, because my jaw wasn't sitting normally anyway. So the food that I was eating, well, my jaw already felt how it felt in daily life, and it was so imbalanced in those times. Okay? So an imbalanced amount of bite size didn't really register to me at all. I wouldn't have known. I couldn't have known. Okay? But now my body, that's what I mean, has changed so much, and there's no possible claim I could make. It's just the truth. You can see it under the gift of video, right? We do so much under the gift of video, under In the Image Clothing Company, and always will. Poodle puppies, right? When our litters come, stuff like that too. It's always going to be awesome to just document under video. I love it. But yeah, if your jaw is being constantly pulled open, then you can't close your mouth, because naturally our mouth sits with our lips slightly parted, actually, but our tongue suctions to the roof of our mouth, and our jaw sits in its neutral position. Okay. Yeah. Shoot. Yes. This is awesome. This is an amazing video. There's a lawnmower sound, I understand, but what we have to do then is allow just everything in the body to be in its neutral position. That's the only way you'll ever get your body to operate the best that it could, and really the only way that it can. All we can do is allow it to. It's God's design. There's no opinion that could possibly be had. I don't have an opinion that I'm sharing here. I'm just discussing it as it is, right? It's not even my information. I'm relaying truth here, as we do. That's what we do under In The Image Clothing Company. Don't even believe us. I say it so often and so clear. Please do not believe me. But if it's truth, it's truth. I couldn't decide it, right? But a lot of your feet problems, your shoulder problems, your back problems, your knee problems, your neck problems, and certainly and most directly your jaw problems are coming from taking too large of bites. Truly. Okay? With your food, or even drinking things and putting too much liquid in your mouth at once. Or speaking while you eat. Okay? The natural bite size, I mean, this is hugely important. The tongue just needs to be able to sit there without having to try to lift your shoulders. I mean, you try to lift your shoulders with your tongue, or you try to lift your shoulders with your jaw, and then your jaw gets so tense, and you feel it in your neck, but it's actually your jaw just trying to close. We can't really just hang our mouth open all the time, or it gets dry. This is what I mean. Dry mouth, dry throat. And then, like the video yesterday, right, the human body's natural efficiency, I talked about how plain water dehydrates the body. No opinion. All water does is get used for functioning in the body, like lubrication of blood and joints and things. Hydration is the body's ability to hold on to the amount of liquid that it needs. Okay, but hydration comes through electrolytes, which are naturally found in natural food, like fruits and, well, nuts even, and, you know, in all the ways that it's just naturally there. Everything is always placed here. Everything that was here when God created the earth and the human beings to be on it is all we could ever need. We have all these unnatural things that we like conjure up in modern day, call them supplements, and they're unneeded in almost every single case. Okay, and they're damaging the body in a lot of cases. There's a natural regulation the body does to things, or with things like electrolytes. But if you can't even close your jaw because you're just not taking food in with the natural bite size, then what'll happen actually, this is really what's happening, is you can't seal your mouth. Because right now with my lips parted, my mouth is sealed by my tongue sitting in the roof of my mouth, right behind those upper teeth. That's how the body naturally works. But if you can't have your tongue sit there, because your tongue's actually connected into like where your lower jawbone is, and if your jaw's off-centered in this right-handed world, or pulled down from your clothing, or, you know, the importance of the same size ears, it's actually titled The Importance of Even Ears. But again, the ears are just the hole between the rear of the lower jawbone and the skull back here, that sternocleidomastoid insertion, really. And we have things that alter our ear shape and size that we're placing into our ears in modern day that we never possibly had in the past, and human beings just never did. And now it's just extremely common to have altered ears, and that's an altered jaw. The ears essentially are the jaw. Like the hand is the shoulder, like the foot is the hip, right? There's certain things in the body that just basically don't exist without the other thing, you know, pretty much to a degree, without trying to make it like a blanket statement. I mean, that's just, they're basically the same thing is what I mean. The jaw and the ears, right? So we talk about that. I talked about it in that video, the importance of even ears. You know, I talk about it when I talk about how clothing affects speaking. We talk about the ears a lot, and the jaw, and they're basically the same thing, okay? One will affect the other is the point, directly physically touching each other, okay? Shoot. So, yep. I mean, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm here for life to do, right? It just hits me. It humbles me. I mean, this is In The Image Clothing Company. This is what we truly are. I haven't really discussed much of anything with clothing in this, all that much. I mean, I have, because the whole point is your jaw wouldn't be altered unless your clothing altered your body. And your jaw is just trying to stabilize. And we wouldn't take these excessively large bites of food. I'm going to wrap this up. If our jaw was able to be in a normal position, but if it's constantly being pulled out of its only neutral position from clothing, again, even things clear down to our feet and out to our hands, the importance of the same size hands, right? We just get alterations on the body, and then our jaw can't sit normal anyway, and so then we'll just be taking oversized bites of food. It just kind of all plays into itself, okay? So stick around for the poodles. Today's the 5th of November, 2025. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company in this for life. Shout out to the state of Utah. The next couple weeks will be great down in St. George, Utah. Thank you, and thank you.